Okay, in this second part of our class this afternoon, we are going to look at how to carry out repetition in Python using something called a for loop. So we're going to see how basically these for loops give you a very easy way of also doing what you have done, which is repetition, either a certain amount, a certain determined number of times, or you might actually be looping over something like a list or a dictionary or a range. Then you don't know how long this list is. Okay, you don't know how long the list is, but you can actually go through each and every item of the list using a for loop. So let's see how this one works. So to start with, we're going to start looking at how do we go over each and every item of a list, because there is a way when we create a list. For example, this list we have here, this list of prime numbers. Okay, that's the list of prime numbers. Then we print it. Now when you do a print with this prime numbers list, you display every value in this list at once. You notice? Have you noticed this? When you say print prime numbers, you display every value in this list at once.
Yes.
Okay, but what if you want to display every value one at a time? So that's where a for loop comes in. So this is what you're going to do. So you say for number in prime numbers, print number. So this is going to allow you, this number thing you have here, number in prime numbers, print number, this is going to be taking one number or one value from the list prime numbers one at a time. It takes one value, it gives it to you, it puts the value in number. So from this prime numbers list, it has got a lot of values, as you can see, but you'll be picking one value. That one value, you put it in number, then you print out number. So this way you're going to print out one value at a time. Are we clear?
Yes.
So when you run that, this is what you get. So you get 2, so you print out 2. Then next you print out 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, 22, 29, 31, like that, one value at a time. So that's what a for loop allows you to do. It allows you to go into a list, something like a list. Then for each value, you repeat. You're repeating something. What you're repeating is the print. You repeat the printing of the number. It doesn't matter how long the list is. Are we clear?
Yes.
You can actually also do a calculation with this number. If you don't mind, you can do a calculation with this number, which has been got from a list, prime numbers, then put in number like that. You can do a calculation. For example, you can square that number. So here, this is we say for number in prime numbers. So for each number in prime numbers, we want to square those numbers. So this is, as you can see, if you remember this is a string format. So we want the number squared, then the result. Then this is going to be the number, then that's going to be the number squared. So when you do something like this, this is what you get. So 2 to the power of 2 raised to the power 2, 4, 3 raised to the power 2, 9, like that for all the numbers. You do something like this. Are we clear?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Here we create an empty list called squares. Since we are squaring, remember? We create an empty list called squares, and we do the same thing. So these numbers, these ones, these have not been stored anywhere. These values for the squares, these values for the squares have not been stored anywhere. So we can actually store them after we print this line. Then the square for can actually be stored in this thing here. We can actually store it. So we say for number in prime numbers, so we print out that stuff, but then we do this. Squares append this. You see that? We are storing the square of number in a list called squares. Then we can print out squares at the end. So this is the same thing we have. Then at the end, these are the squares. These 4, 9, 15, 49, these are the values in this list. Do you see that?
Yes.
Yeah, we have done the same thing for each and every value. So basically that's what a for loop allows you to do. A for loop allows you to carry out the same operation on each value of a list. But you have to get that particular value. For you to before you do anything, before you do all this stuff, you have to access that one value, and you do that by writing for number in prime numbers. So this statement is going to be getting one value from prime numbers. That value is stored in numbers. Then you can do stuff with numbers. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yeah, you can multiply, you can divide, you can do whatever you want. You can also do the same thing we have done with a list. You can do it with a tuple. So here, since we've got the list prime numbers, we change this list prime numbers, we change it into a tuple with this statement here. You are aware of this? How to change a list into a tuple?
Yes.
Yeah, from our first classes. This is what we did. Then you print. Again, when you do a print, what you're doing is you're printing everything at the same time. Again, you can do the same thing we did. Print each value at once. For number in prime numbers, then you print number. So this accesses the values one at a time, then you print them. There. Are we clear?
Yes.
Now, there is sometimes, apart from the value in the list, okay? Apart from the value in the list, sometimes you also want to access the index of the value. Are we clear?
Yes.
Sometimes you also want to access the index of a value in a list. So you want the position of the value and the value itself. For you to have access to the position of the value and the value itself, so that you can do things with these two things, then what you need to use is something called enumerate. Okay, so you enumerate the list, or you enumerate the tuple. So here we print prime numbers. This is still a tuple. We convert this prime numbers tuple into a list like that. Then you print this. So we've got a list. Now this is how it works. So you say for. Now you're looking for the index and also the value. So you, instead of, remember previously when you say for, you say just number, you just give one variable in which to store things, in which to store the value of a particular item in a list. Remember this?
Yes.
Now what you're looking for, what you are trying to do is you're trying to store the index and the value, or the number. Here, you're trying to store the index and the value, or the number. Then you do this enumerates. Then inside you enumerate, that's why you put your prime number. So this is going to allow you to access, to store both the index and the value. So the index is going to be stored in index. The value of the number is going to be stored in value. So this way you can print out the index and the corresponding value. Like this. So the index for 0, the value is 2. For 1, index 1, the value is 3. So as you can see, index 0, the value is 2. Index 1, the value is 3. Index 2, the value is 5. Like that, all the way up to the end. Index 24, the value is 29. You see this? This
Yes.
allows you to access. So this, and how are you able to do this? Is by using this enumerate. This enumerate allows you to access the index and the value like that. If somehow you decide to switch things, you say value and index, Python is not going to know, because what Python knows when it comes to a for loop, when you are enumerating, the index is always put in the first variable, this one, and the value is always put in the second variable, this one, like this. When you use enumerate, the index always goes in the first variable in the lists. This is going to have the index, then the value is going to come in the second one in the list, like this. Are we clear? When you run this, that's what you get. So you see your value is now to your index, like that. So they have been switched. So this is something you need to be aware of when you are trying to access the index, and also when you're trying to access the value. Is this clear?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So always, if you're going to use enumerate, if you need the position of an item in a list and also the values of the item in the list, you need this way. You need to put the index and then the value, then depending. So at each point as you go through this list, as you pick each number, for that particular number you pick, the index is stored here, is held here, the value is put here, then you can print them out. So looping, same with a tuple. This enumerate business also works as a tuple. So this is a list, then we change it into a tuple, then you print, then you can do the same thing, index, value, prime numbers. It works with a list, it works with a tuple, the result is the same there. If you change again these things, if you change them, then the result is, it also changes like that. Are we clear?
Yes.
You can print a value, all the values in a list or a tuple, you can print them one at a time. Okay, you can print them one at a time like that. There is also a special kind of list, if you still remember, called a range. You can also do a thing over a range. So the range, now a range, like in this case, range 11 produces numbers from 0 to 10 separated by 1. This what type, what's data type of this? That's a range. And if you do this for number in range 11, then you print number. So it's going to be picking, Python will be picking one value at a time from this range 11, then those values are going to be printed out one at a time. So you start range 11, so it starts from 0, it goes all the way up to 10. So this is another clever way you could print numbers 0 up to 10. Remember we did this in our previous class with the while loop. We had this result 0, 1, 2, 3, printing numbers like that. Something similar to this.
Yes.
This is a very fast way of doing that. So here, this one, if you have a range which starts from, we're specifying where the range starts from up to but less than 11, up to but less than 11, then you print the numbers, then you have 1 up to 10. So in this case, if you're just printing numbers like this, 1 up to 10, range is very fast. If you just want to print the numbers in steps of 2, start from 0, then up to 11 in steps of 2, then this is your start point, that's where you're ending, then in steps of 2, then you can do that. 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. This is similar to what we did with our with the while loop. Remember when we're skipping the odd numbers?
Yes.
Yeah, when you're skipping the odd numbers. No. So not exactly the same, but something similar. Same, we can also do the same thing from 1 in steps of that. There. You can also use enumerate with range. So enumerate with range is going to give you what is the index and the value. So you say index for index value in enumerate, then inside enumerate you put your range stuff. When you put your range stuff and you print out, that's what you get. So the index is 0, the value is 0. And the index is 1, value is 1. Index is 2, value is 2. So you can see that for a range object, the index and the values in this case are the same. Are we clear? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, this follow business, you can also use it to check if the list is empty or not. Using a for loop, for example. Remember that list of moons we had? I think we need to bring it up somewhere here. If I can find it. Wait just a minute. I'll create a list of moons somewhere here. Need to get it. Just need to get it. Yeah. Okay. So I'll say create a list. Say create list. Create list moons. Okay, so here is a list of moons. Then we check if list is empty. So here. Check if list moons is empty, and we give the moons list to boolean. So if it's empty, it should give us false. Now because it's not empty, it gives us true. So you can do the following. If moons, that is if the list is empty, then you can do a for loop. You print out each moon one at a time. So you carry out this. You print out the moons one at a time, not like in list. Else, just tell us that there are no moons. So if you do that, this is what you get. These are the list of moons. We do a printout for these moons. We pick one moon, we store it in moons, then we print out. That's what a for loop does. It picks things from a list one at a time. So you pick from this list moons, then you store in the variable the first item. This one is picked. That's the first one here. So this one, the first item is picked. In this for loop, it's picked. Then it's stored in moon. Then we print out moon. Then next, it moves to the second item. It's picked. It's stored in moon. Then it's printed out. Thirdly, like that. You keep on doing this until all of them have been printed out. That's why they get printed out this way. That is only if this list is not empty. Otherwise, if it's empty, then it's going to tell us there are no moons. Are we clear?
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, a for loop has a mechanism for picking items from a list or from a tuple or from a dictionary. It picks one item, it puts it in a particular variable, then you have access to that variable, you can do whatever you want with it, then you move on like that. Here we create an empty list of moons. Now there is no moons. Then if you check this true or false thing, now it's false. Now if you do this, because there is no moons in this list, so this thing is going to be false. If moons is going to be false, if it's false, then what you're going to get is this. There is no moons in the solar system. So if you run this, we get that result. There is no moons in the solar system. Are we clear?
Yes.
Yeah, so we can combine, actually we can combine our if with our for loops in all sorts of clever ways, depending on what you want to do. You can also loop through a dictionary. Okay, you can also look through a dictionary. For example, I create a dictionary about myself. I'll be turning 35 very soon. So this is contact, my first name, that's gift, my last name is Johnny, my phone number, my email address, the company I work for, or the organization. Let me say organization. Yeah, let me say organization. 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 That's the University of Zambia, my age, and I teach there. So this is a dictionary I've created. Okay, I can print this dictionary contact. So this is what I got: first name, gift, last name, Johnny, phone number, email address, organization, the University of Zambia, age 35, lecture, that's the job. I can, you know that from with the dictionary, you can access the keys using the keys method. Okay, or you can access the values in the dictionary. So if you just say for key in contacts, this is going to give you, when you do this is going to give you access to each key one at a time. Then you print out those keys. These ones. These are the keys. The phone, the organization and stuff. You're going to get access to each of the keys. Then you print them one at a time. First name, last name, phone, email, organization, age, job. So for each time it goes through the dictionary, it will fetch one key. Python will fetch a key. It will store that key in this key. Then you print it. Next, it will fetch the next key, which is the last person. It will store it in key. Then you print it. Next, it will fetch the next key, which is the phone. Store it in key. Then you print it. Next, it will fetch the next key, which is the email. Store it in key. Then print it like that. Another way to achieve the same effect is if you use this keys method. You say, when you say contact.keys, this contact.keys gives you a list of the keys: first name, last name, phone, email, organization, age, job. So you have a list like this, and you have seen how to, once you have a list, we have seen how to access each item from a list one at a time. Okay, same. So for key in, now you say contact.keys. So this gives you a list of keys. Then you print the key there: first name, last name, phone, email, organization, age, job, like that. You can also do the same thing with the values in a dictionary. Say contact.values, this values method. Contact.values gives you a list of values. So if you want the values, my name, first name, surname, phone number, email address, the university, like that, then you want to print the values at the same time, one at a time. So you say for value in contact.values. So this is the list of values. Then for each list of values, Python gets the first value, puts it in value, then you print it, gets the second value from this list, puts it in value, you print it like that until all of them have been printed. So you have gift, store, phone number, email address, university, age, and the lecture. Are we clear?
Yes.
You could also use just the key. Instead of using the values thing, you could just use the key. Say for key, because this bit, remember, for key in contact, which is this, for key in contact gives you, stores the key in a particular dictionary in this key. Okay, so you could use that to access the values. That's another way of accessing the values here. the key, then you write the way you access the thing. So you could also access the values this way. If you forgot how to use the values method, you could actually, using each separate key which is stored in the variable key, you could use that to access the values. Okay, you could also access the values and keys at the same time, like this. So this side here, you're going to have the keys, the other side you're going to have the values. So you've got a key here, and the other side you access the values. You could do something like this, and you print them side by side. First name, gift, last name, store name, phone, that, email, that, organization, that, age, that, like that. So you're printing pieces of a dictionary one at a time. Are we clear?
Yes.
The last but not the least is items. Now, when you say contact.items gives you a tuple of a key and a value. This contact.items. It's like, for dictionaries, this is the equivalent of what you do with enumerates. You get a value, a key and a value, key and a value, key and a value, like that, as tuples. So if you say for key, value, then contact.keys, what this is going to do is that first it's going to do this. You're going to have a list of these guys, like that. Then the keys are going to be stored here for each tuple. For each tuple arrangement, for this thing here, for each tuple, the key is going to be stored. The first item, which is a key, will be stored in key. The second item, which is a value, is going to be stored in value. Then you can print them out like that. So there are different ways of doing these things. The results are identical. This result and this result, and yeah, they're identical things. They're identical results. So it depends on what you want to do, or what you want, on what task you have at hand. Are we clear?
Kindly repeat the last phrase, the network is breaking.
I'm saying that this result you have here, this and this, they are identical, but they have been done differently. So it depends on what you're comfortable with or what you're doing. You can choose.
Okay.
Yeah. Any questions?
No, for now, no.
Okay, so I think we have to stop here. We have met our objectives for the day, which is to look at repetition using the while loop, which took a bit longer, then also using this for loop, which was a much shorter session. And yeah, that's basically how these things work. Unless you've got any questions, I'll proceed to stop the presentation, then finalize on these notebooks and also send them to you guys.
All right. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, so next week, when we meet, we'll be talking about how to open files, because some of the information you're going to work with is going to be stored in files. So we are going to see how to open those files. Then after we open the files, how do you read the file? How do you write things to file and stuff like that? What I am thinking is probably the next month is April, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's April, then there's May, June, July. So I think by end of April we should conclude, because we have been doing this programming thing, I think last time I said it was 1 month. Actually, it was 2 months.
Yes.
Yeah. So we need. Yeah. So by the time we're done this month, so I think we started January somewhere 19. January 19, then you move to February, then you move to March. So from January to February, that's 1 month. Then February to March, right? So that's 2 months. So by the time I think we reach the next 19, I want to give this thing 3 months so that we finish with this Python thing, so that we can actually get started with the computational physics which we need to do.
All right.
Yeah, so we are much closer to the end than you
All
think.
right.
Yeah, what you have done before is a lot more than what's left.
All right. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, so I'll see you next week.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, I'll proceed to upload these recorded videos to YouTube so you can access them. You can also tell your friend
All right.
that you can do the same. Yes.